Welcome to Babaobaba channel. Today Marvel Hero Profile will bring the history of superhero that is being discussed a lot from the WandaVision series. She is Monica Rambeau, or also known as Spectrum. Many people may not yet know, she has gone by many code names from Captain Marvel, Photon, Pulsar, Spectrum, over the years whilst utilizing these abilities as a crime fighter. Monica has served alongside the Avengers in various incarnations and operated as their leader for a time. Alright, let's have a look at her profile. Monica was first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man Annual Issue 16 in August, 1982. Monica Rambeau was born and raised in warm family at New Orleans, Louisiana. She was the daughter of Maria Rambeau, a successful seamstress, and firefighter, Frank Rambeau. Monica entered her local police force and rapidly rose through the ranks, finally becoming lieutenant of the Harbor Division at New Orleans and operated as a cargo ship captain. While off duty, she helped Professor André Leclerc in finding a foreign tyrant who intended to use a massive energy generator to take over the United States. He is General Echo Beto Ramirez. She decides to investigate the situation, and the following day the pair take a boat out to the oil rig. When the boat arrives at the platform, Monica is greeted by armed guards working for the Roxxon Corporation, and with her charm allowing her to easily board the boat and make her to destroy the machine, that causing a massive explosion. Suddenly, Monica is transformed into a beam of light and transports herself to the mainland with a confused Monica, who is disoriented. She rapidly regains her bearings and tries to reach the Navy for assistance using a radio. She, unaware that the radio isn't wired in, but she subconsciously uses her abilities to energize it. So, that make her is now able to transmit a distress signal to a naval ship in the Gulf. Monica investigates her surroundings and learns that she is in a warehouse where discarded Mardi Gras costumes are stored. Monica dresses up in one of the costumes to conceal her identity. That is make it to her first costume. Monica, who is perplexed as to how she came to the mainland, she finds herself taken back to the oil rig merely by thinking about it. After she successfully helping Professor André, on their way out, one of the guards overhears André refer to Monica as Captain and refers to her as Captain Marabilla, and distorted to Captain Marvel. 2 days later, at the Harbor Patrol headquarters, Monica is visited by André again. He has finished running a series of tests on Monica and explains that the accident gave her the ability to transform her body into any form of energy. He then presents her with a new suit made of unstable molecules, and convinces her that she should use her powers to represent and protect the people. She then goes to the harbor master and turns over her badge and gun, in order to fulfill her new career as a superhero that call Captain Marvel. After experimenting with her powers, she realized that her abilities were growing out of control, so she ventured to New York, in search of Reed Richards, that hoping to get help in controlling her powers. But instead of meeting Richards, she met Spider-Man and caught the attention of him, whose spider sense led him to believe she posed a threat. She was followed by Spider-Man during her search for help. Monica arrives at the Baxter building. There she is confronted by the Thing, who demands to know why she has come. Unfortunately, the Fantastic Four's leader Reed Richards is away with his wife. So, Thing suggests that they get in touch with the Avengers. However, when he opens a line of communication with the Iron Man, Monica uses her powers to travel across the line of communications. That's when Spider-Man arrives on the scene, and when the Thing tells her that this new Captain Marvel might explode, Spider-Man rushes off to help the Avengers before the Thing can explain that the woman is not a threat. At Avengers Mansion, Monica's arrival through the communication system shorts out Iron Man's armor and temporarily causes the security systems to go haywire. To make matters worse, the energies inside Monica are beginning to reach critical mass. Spider-Man arrives on the scene and the first thing he does is attack Monica. However, a recovered Iron Man and the Wasp arrive and get him to stop, explaining the situation fully to him. Iron Man has also come up with a means of channeling the unstable energies out of Monica and discharging them harmlessly. Iron Man manages to channel the energies up into the sky where they explode harmlessly. Sometime later, the Thing arrives to find the Avengers and Spider-Man all making their acquaintance with Monica. After that, the Avengers test the capabilities of her, and then joined in the Avengers and became their first African American heroine. she has fought against various villains along with the Avengers such as Egghead, Plantman, Moonstone, Blackout. And she temporarily lost her ability to transform back to human form during a battle against Dr. Eric Paulson. She was also with the team when the Beyonder abducted them and other Earth superheroes for the first Secret Wars saga. Monica served a lengthy stint with the Avengers and routinely replaced the Wasp became the team's leader. The Avengers under her leadership, she commanding them in battles against such as the X-Men, the Olympian Gods, and the Super Adaptoid. However, when Avengers member and wife of the submariner named Marina, transformed into the gigantic sea monster, Leviathan, Monica led the hunt for the creature and fight with it. During the battle that followed, Monica transformed herself into a giant bolt of lightning in effort to stop the sea beast. She came into touch with the sea and accidentally conducted herself across the ocean's surface, dispersing her atoms so widely that she barely regained physical form. She reformed as a frail, withered husk drained of a woman devoid of superpowers because of injuries. However, she was forced to leave the active roster. After retiring from the team, Monica regained first her physical health, and eventually her powers, initially developing the ability to manipulate mechanical energy for various effects. She resumed crime fighting and at the same time, she served as a cargo ship captain in her friend Ron Morgan's shipping company before starting her own charter business. Monica stayed connected with the Avengers and served as a reservist, sometimes assuming leadership duties in the absence of the current chair. When Gennis Vell, son of Mar-Vell, became an adventurer, he was known as Captain Marvel like his father before his, which Monica resented. After she, Star Fox and Gennis teamed up to defeat the Controller, Gennis tried to concede the Captain Marvel title to Monica since he felt she was more worthy of it. But, Monica declined out of respect for the Mar-Vell legacy and adopted a new alias named Photon. Later, during the event that vampires are out on the rampage and want to propagate, Monica was recruited by the Black Panther to fend off a vampire outbreak in New Orleans, as part of an all-black team-up comprising Luke Cage, Blade, Black Panther, and Brother Voodoo. With the speed of light and power of sun, there won't be a vampire alive in New Orleans by dawn. After willingly giving up her title as Captain Marvel to Gennis Vell, out of respect for his father, Monica was angered upon learning that Gennis changed his name again, this time to Photon. It's funny that there are so many names that he don't use it. But, he want to use the same name as Monica again. After confronting him about his actions, she decided to allow him to have the name and began contemplating the uses of the alias, Pulsar. After several sporadic adventures with the Avengers, she becomes an agent of the highest anti-terrorism effort, or also known as HATE squad called Nextwave, that formed to fight the unusual weapons of mass destruction. For members other than herself included the Captain, Boom Boom, Machine Man, and Elsa Bloodstone. Monica was a valuable addition to the squad, but she irritated others by continually taking up her previous history as the leader of the Avengers, and she formed a habit of yelling the names of her energy attacks. During the events of Civil War, Monica was recruited by Captain America to become a member of his secret Avengers. When she teamed up to defeat the vampires in her hometown, she and Dr. Voodoo had a relationship with each other, but finally broke up. Later, she disclosed to Black Cat, Hellcat, and Firestar a previous friendship with Dr. Voodoo, and told of Dr. Voodoo requested her to assistance in hunting down some evil sorcerers, about the fact that she had broken off. But, Dr. Voodoo also had feelings for Monica. She promised to help him, which rekindled their friendship. Finally she successfully bid for artifact legendary Monkey Paw, to Dr. Voodoo. Later, while she wanted to travel to Hell with her friends, Black Cat, and Firestar, to save Hellcat from her ex-husband, Damon Hellstorm. She went to Dr. Voodoo in order to help him help them on their journey to Hell, where she eventually used the artifact she bid for traveled to Hell. After the story was over, the group continued to meet, in part to support Firestar, who had fought and beat breast cancer. There was one time that she helped Carol Danvers in an investigation in the Gulf of Mexico, where Monica said that she was still scared of using her powers underwater due to her painful experience in battle with Marina Smallwood while she transformed to Leviathan. During the event of Infinity, Monica went to New York and thwarted a bank robbery committed by the Blue Streak while on patrol. When she turned him over to the police, they referred to her as Spectrum, a new alias Monica has adopted and used that alias until today. After that, Monica returned to a specialist shop in New York where a man named Luke sells designer superhero costumes. He mentioned that someone was waiting for her in the next room. Monica recognized the man, though apparently all he wanted to do was talk and ask for help. However, the conversation have cut short by the sound of explosions from downtown Manhattan. Monica informs mysterious guest that if he wants her help, then he needs to help her first. She grabs a ridiculous costume that seemingly on purpose and offers it to him to disguise himself. Later, Monica and mysterious guest, Spider Hero, traveled to Manhattan to investigate. Once there, they crossed paths with Luke Cage and the superior Spider-Man, who were fighting Proxima Midnight, who is one of the warlords of Thanos, which is the cause of the explosion sound that occurs. Monica, Luke Cage, Superior Spider-Man, and Spider Hero grouped together to form an ad hoc Avengers unit to fend off Proxima Midnight and her demons. After a while of fighting, Proxima Midnight deduced that Monica was the most strong of them all and used her black light spear to easily knock her out of the fight. That make Monica's body was propelled and infected by the spear. After Monica was defeated in hand-to-hand fighting, Luke Cage was able to hold off Proxima Midnight, but he was eventually defeated. Proxima Midnight, on the other hand, was unable to execute him due to his unbreakable skin. So Thanos, who was watching, decided to swap out Proxima Midnight for one of his other generals, Ebony Maw. He used his special abilities to manipulate Doctor Strange into summoning Shumagaroth. Despite being in a severely weakened state due to slumber with captured and infected by Ebony Maw during earlier events of Infinity. However, Shumagaroth's potential threat level alerted Dr. Adam Brashear, or also known as Blue Marvel. While Luke Cage and Spider Hero began to fend them off and Superior Spider-Man attempted to save Monica, Blue Marvel eventually arrived at the battle and temporarily defeated Garoth. Then after Superior Spider-Man informed Blue Marvel what happened to Monica, he used his ability to control antimatter to remove the black light infection from her body. Shortly afterward, Luke Cage's interns, Victor Alvarez, or also known as Power Man, and Ava Ayala, or also known as White Tiger, arrived at the battle, as they all began to fend off Shumagaroth. Power Man and White Tiger combined their powers to summon the Tiger God from White Tiger's mystical amulet. Shumagaroth was subsequently maimed and subdued by the powerful god for long enough for Monica to obliterate his physical form. And finally, Monica has used her abilities. It turned into a ray of light in Shumagaroth's eyes, causing it to explode from within his body, that make ending this battle. After battle, Monica became field leader of Luke Cage's new Mighty Avengers team in the wake of the event. And for the mysterious guest, after using the alias, Spider Hero, he changed it once again to go on a mission. This time, he used the alias, Ronin, before revealing himself to be Blade, the Vampire Hunter. Monica and Blue Marvel formed romantic feelings for each other while working with the Mighty Avengers. They started dating not long afterward, and together they began testing the limits of Monica's powers, coming to the realization that she had transcended humanity with her power-up, having become an immortal being of light. Monica experienced a callback to her time with Nextwave after it was revealed a company with whom the Mighty Avengers butted heads, Cortex Incorporated, was being controlled by a Beyond Corporation member impersonating Cortex CEO Jason Quantrell. Monica confronted the fake Quantrell and distracted him for long enough that Blue Marvel was able to open a portal to exospace and send him back outside reality. During the last day's part of the event, Secret Wars, while an incursion is on the way, Monica formulated a strategy to destroy Earth-1610 in order to prevent it from colliding with Earth-616 in desperation during the 2 weeks before the end of the world, and due to multiversal contraction. Before 60 minutes to impact. Monica channeled her full strength and went to destroy Earth-1610. However, just before she was about to destroy the other Earth, she saw a group of children who lived there, that prompting her to pause for a small period that long enough for the Maker or Reed Richards from Earth-1610 to capture her. Following the dissolution of the mighty Avengers, Monica joined the newly formed Ultimates at Blue Marvel's suggestion with Captain Marvel, Miss America, and Black Panther, serving alongside him as part of the team and further consolidating their romance. They come together to be a proactive group for cosmic-sized problems. Their first big success was reforming Galactus into the Life-Bringer. After the Second Superhuman Civil War, the Ultimates were terminated by the government due to their differences on the source of conflict. Regardless of their dissolution, the Ultimates eventually reassembled in secrecy at Galactus in order to investigate the mystery of who had chained the multiverse's embodiment. Ultimately, the good work that they were doing would get the team reinstated as members of the Alpha Flight space program. Later, during a conflict between two elders of the universe, the Grandmaster and the Challenger, the Earth was briefly removed from its orbit around the Sun. That make the spell of imprisonment Nyx, the goddess of the night, has broken. Nyx rallied her children against and massacred their fellow others Olympians' god. Monica was recruited by Voyager to join a team with the several heroes and face off against to stop this new threat, before Nyx could reclaim her godhood and remake the universe in her imag that returning everything to a state of empty and pure darkness. One of Monica's companions in this journey was the android Vision, whose body was malfunctioning. Due to Nyx's return causing the sun to black out, Monica used her powers to provide Vision a source of energy. The end of this adventure took the heroes to the entry point to the House of Ideas, that is a plane of existence and the core of all of reality. Nyx teleported herself to it to claim it as a seat of power from which she could remake the universe. The Avengers managed to follow her into House of Idea, but no one can enter to it. Monica burned out most of her power helping Vision reach inside the House of Ideas, becoming the only hero capable to follow Nyx inside and stop her. Inside the blank void within the house, Vision combined his knowledge from the Avengers files within his database with the house's nature to summon an army of constructs of Earth's mightiest heroes. This manifestation of the light of the human spirit pushed back against Nyx, weakening her until Vision, engulfed by this light's fire, burned the Queen of Nights to cinders. With her final words, Nyx swore that this fire wouldn't be able to burn her away forever. Following Nyx's defeat, the universal blackout caused by her return. Later, Monica was one of the few people targeted by the Vridae, a race of shape-shifting fairy folk who were displaced after the events of War of the Realms. She would be taken into custody by the Avengers and placed on Blade's new Strikeforce. Because she made contact with the Vridae, it makes her uniquely qualified to track them. They would eventually learn that the leader of the Vridae, Ophidian, was being manipulated by his regent, Lady Birgit. The Vridae really just wanted a new place to live, and Strikeforce worked out a deal where they could stay on Monster Island.